Hypnosis cured anxiety in 10 minutes not by healing, but by seizing the mind's throne like a prince restoring order to a rebellious city. To understand this through Machiavelli's lens, one must first recognize that anxiety is not merely an emotional burden, but a failure of governance within the self. It is the spectacle of a ruler unable to command loyalty from his subjects, the feeling of being at the mercy of countless small uprisings inside the mind. Anxiety scatters attention, corrodes resolve, and destabilizes the inner order as surely as rebellion topples a state. A citizenry that lives in constant fear becomes restless, disobedient, suspicious. A mind that lives in constant fear becomes unable to trust itself, unable to stand firm in its own commands. Anxiety is the most dangerous adversary because it does not strike from outside like an invader, but festers inside, gnawing at the foundations of authority until the ruler himself doubts whether he has any right to rule. Machiavelli would not see hypnosis as a gentle art or mystical cure. He would see it as a political maneuver, a calculated stratagem of control. The hypnotist assumes the role of the prince, stepping into the disorder of the anxious psyche with the authority of one who knows that appearances govern reality. Just as a shrewd leader calms riots not by indulging their chaos but by redirecting their energy, the hypnotist calms the agitated mind, not by erasing its fears but by commanding them into silence. The anxious person enters the chamber trembling, a realm of disorder. The hypnotist projects certainty, control, an aura of inevitability. Authority flows not from truth but from perception, and the anxious mind, weary from rebellion, submits almost with relief. What makes hypnosis Machiavellian is not its therapeutic claims but its ruthless efficiency. In 10 minutes it accomplishes what months of debate or years of cautious reform might fail to do. Machiavelli teaches that a prince must act swiftly when disorder arises, for hesitation allows chaos to spread like fire. Hypnosis embodies this principle by imposing a new order at once, cutting off the root of rebellion before it can branch again. The hypnotist bypasses negotiation with the anxious thoughts, just as a wise ruler bypasses the endless arguments of factional leaders. Instead, he strikes directly at the core of belief, reshaping perception so that the anxious mind believes its rebellion has already been quelled. Whether the cure is real or illusion does not matter, because power itself is sustained by belief. Consider how Machiavelli speaks of religion and appearances in politics. A ruler need not be virtuous, but he must appear virtuous. He need not be merciful, but he must appear merciful. He need not be just, but he must give the illusion of justice. Hypnosis follows this exact logic. The hypnotized subject need not have dismantled every root of fear, but they must feel as though fear has been conquered. That sensation of conquest is enough to shift the balance of power inside the mind. The anxious self, which once doubted its own strength, now believes it has been rescued by a force of order. From that moment, the rebellion ends, not because the rebels have been converted, but because they believe the war is already lost. Machiavelli would admire the cunning of this. He would see hypnosis not as benevolence, but as domination dressed in healing robes. The anxious subject may think they are being helped, but in truth they are being ruled. They surrender their autonomy to the hypnotist's voice, much as citizens surrender their autonomy to a prince who promises stability. The hypnotist builds no arguments, offers no proofs, relies on no rational persuasion. Instead, he understands the deepest weakness of the human mind, its dependence on narrative, its hunger for certainty, its readiness to obey when firm command replaces wavering indecision. He exploits this weakness not maliciously but strategically, creating a situation in which the anxious subject embraces submission as though it were freedom. The speed of hypnosis, its claim to cure in 10 minutes, makes it even more Machiavellian. 10 minutes is not time for careful reasoning or gradual persuasion. It is the time of coups, sudden revolutions, decisive blows. Machiavelli warns rulers that when chaos appears, they must act like lions and foxes, both fierce and cunning, striking before the enemy gathers strength. Anxiety is an enemy that grows more powerful the longer it is entertained. A person who argues with their anxious thoughts only multiplies them, just as a ruler who debates endlessly with factions only emboldens them. Hypnosis eliminates the argument by removing the battlefield itself. The subject enters trance, the conscious defenses dissolve, and the new narrative is planted before the rebellion knows it has been defeated. Yet, Machiavelli would also recognize the danger hidden in this cure. A prince who pacifies his subjects with appearances alone risks losing control if the illusion collapses. Likewise, hypnosis holds power only so long as the subject believes. If the anxious mind begins to question, to doubt, to test the solidity of its newfound peace, the rebellion may rise again with even greater ferocity. This is why Machiavelli insists that appearances must be carefully maintained, that the prince must continuously stage power, never allowing cracks to show. The hypnotist, too, must reinforce the suggestion, ensure that the illusion of order remains convincing, lest the subject awaken to the chaos that still lurks beneath. But perhaps the most striking Machiavellian insight is this: hypnosis works not because it heals, but because it reorders power. Before hypnosis, the anxious self was ruled by fear, just as a weak state is ruled by corrupt advisors or treacherous factions. After hypnosis, fear is dethroned and a new authority is enthroned. The subject may think they themselves have reclaimed their throne, but in truth the hypnotist sits invisibly upon it, having reshaped the very structure of governance within. What seems like freedom is actually obedience to a new ruler. The anxious subject feels cured not because the enemy has vanished, but because they no longer recognize its power. In this sense, hypnosis is the most Machiavellian of therapies, for it exposes the raw mechanics of rule. Authority rests on belief, stability rests on appearances, and control is often more effective than truth. The anxious mind, like a restless city, needs not absolute justice but a convincing display of order. It does not demand that every cause of fear be uprooted. It demands that someone, anyone, stand at the center with enough certainty to declare the rebellion over. Hypnosis delivers this with ruthless clarity, reshaping the subject's perception until the once chaotic kingdom of thought bows before a single ruler again. Thus, to say that hypnosis cured anxiety in 10 minutes is to misunderstand its nature. It did not heal in the way medicine heals. It conquered in the way power conquers. It seized the throne of the mind, declared the rebels defeated, and established a new order through sheer authority of suggestion. Whether that order lasts a day, a year, or a lifetime is irrelevant to Machiavelli's logic, for what matters is not eternity, but effectiveness in the moment of crisis. Anxiety was dethroned, the mind was unified, and for that time order reigned. This is not medicine. It is politics carried out upon the stage of the self, the art of ruling applied inward, the strategy of the prince enacted upon the restless kingdom within.